Toronto, 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 what more is there to say about you? One of the most skilled teams in the entire NHL, but to most you ask, they won't get the credit they deserve. And for good reason. By all accounts, one of the greatest assembled teams on paper in the entire NHL, but when the time truly counts in the Stanley Cup Playoffs, they failed to get it done. They don't even have any of the accomplishments necessary to deem them a great team. In the regular season, they thrive, but when the time truly counts to prove what they have in the playoffs, they flounder every single time. They don't have the one award that would truly make people recognize how great this team is. That being the Stanley Cup. But not only that, they haven't even gotten a quarter of the way there. But after all that, you know what I say? This is the year. This is the year. It's a line tossed around loosely throughout Leafs Nation. But the year for greatness still has yet to come in Toronto. Despite the high-end talent the Leafs undoubtedly possess, they've failed to make it beyond the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs ever since 2004. 18 years ago. 18 years of frustration, 18 years of disappointment, 18 years of heartbreak in the city of Toronto. Want to know exactly how long ago that was? Well, the year 2023 marks the first time since 2004 that the high school graduating class has not yet been born the last time the Leafs made it out of the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Pathetic. That's the only word that comes to mind. But with how much general manager Kyle Dubas geared up at this year's deadline, could this finally be the fateful year that Leafs fans in Toronto have waited for? Well, I don't know the answer to that question, but what I do know is that this year certainly feels different, and here's why. The Leafs once again came into this season with a fantastic returning cast of guys like Austin Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner, just to name a few. As well as a defensive core consisting of guys like Morgan Rielly and TJ Brody. But at the deadline, that's where Dubas really kicked things into high gear. Kyle Dubas recognized what was on the line for both his own career and the future of the Toronto Maple Leafs' current core. So the young GM threw caution to the wind. He pushed all of his chips into the center of the table. He went all in. He flipped a plethora of draft capital, as well as a young, unproven defenseman who had a lot of potential in Rasmus Sandin. But what he got in return is absolutely game-changing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. For starters, he acquired a former Selke winner, a former Conn Smythe winner for being the playoff MVP, and most importantly, a former Stanley Cup champion, that being Ryan O'Reilly, the epitome of a proven winner. The addition of Ryan O'Reilly bolsters up the Toronto Maple Leafs center depth and our offensive depth as a whole. This addition immediately shores up the Toronto Maple Leafs top 6 unit. But Kyle Dubas didn't stop there. Dubas also made moves to shore up the Leafs' bottom 6. He did so with additions of bottom 6 gritty forward Noel Acciari as well as bottom 6 speedster Sam Lafferty. But that's not all. He also provided the Leafs with a boatload of defensive depth, getting guys like Jake McCabe as well as Luke Schenn and Eric Gustafsson. With all of these deadline additions, as well as an entire city behind them with 18 years worth of passion ready to be unleashed, how could you not say this year feels different? So let's make a prediction, shall we? This is the year. This is the year the Leafs playoff curse comes to an end. This is the year that will go down in history for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the year. Period. Could I end up regretting those words? Well, maybe. But I don't know about you, something's in the air for these Toronto Maple Leafs. But with how strong these deadline additions are, as well as how strong our overall team is, I'm putting my face to this prediction. The Toronto Maple Leafs are getting out of the first round this year. They're going on a deep playoff run. And at the end of the day, don't be too surprised if the Toronto Maple Leafs end up lifting the Stanley Cup. It's a bold take, surely, but where does life without a little bit of passion get you? This is the year. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your grandma, this is the year for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And hey, if you don't hop on the bandwagon now, well, don't say I didn't warn you. This is the year, ladies and gentlemen. But with that said, my name's Jared Rotenberg, and I stand by my pick. Thank you so much for listening. Jared Rotenberg signing off.